Immigration, trade, preferences, climate change, technology. How do they affect the GMP? How do they affect economics? How are these factors influenced? Explained by Esther Duflo and Abhijit. If that's what you'd like to know, then stick around. For hard times explains that economists are more like plumbers that solve problems with a combination of intuition grounded in science, economics guesswork aided by experience, and a bunch of pure trial and error. Just like in medicine, they are never sure they have reached the truth, just that they have enough faith in an answer to act on it, knowing they may have to change their minds later. According to a poll in the UK in which they asked, of the following, whose opinion do you trust the most when they talk about their field of expertise? Economists were just above politicians at 25%. This is partly because there's plenty of bad economics around. The self-proclaimed economists on TV and in the press, with important exceptions, are primarily spokespersons for their firm's economic interests, who often ignore the weight of the evidence. By exploring how today's best economists think about their world, their conclusion, and how they got there, while separating facts and pipe dreams, we just might be on the journey of making economics great again. Mega. Good economics cannot save us, but without it, we are doomed to repeat the mistakes of yesterday.
Migration helps the economy. However, the economy is sticky. The fraction of international migrants in the world population in 2017 was roughly what it was in 1960 or 1990, 3%. Why the panic of immigrants taking away native jobs? Politicians like Trump bring up the demand-supply law. As the demand curve for labor slopes down, the rise in labor supply will lower wages for everyone. The migrants may benefit, but the native workers will suffer. They stoke these fears by abusing the facts that are wrong. According to the British Somalia poet, no one leaves home unless home is the mouth of a shark. You only run for the border when you see the whole city running as well. Those trying to leave are not extremely poor. They are well-to-do, excluding the ambitious migrants who need to get out at all costs. Most people do not want to leave their family ties and the comfort of home. The fear of uncertainty, lack of residence in new location, the fear of failure are some of the reasons the economy is sticky. Except there is a major disaster that causes displacement or war, economic incentives on their own are often not sufficient to get people to move. The new National Research Council finds that when measured over a period of more than 10 years, the impact of migration on the wages of natives overall is very small. In fact, the influx of workers both increases demand and supply of labor, which cancels every negative effect. Migrants also slow down the process of mechanization by providing cheap labor, which is beneficial to the natives. Migrants complement rather than compete with the native labor because they are willing to perform tasks natives are reluctant to do. Workers are unlike watermelons that you get in the market from unknown traders. Network connection matters. Accepting lower wages is not enough incentive for workers to employ migrants over natives that they can vouch for. This suggests that encouraging migration should indeed be a policy priority. Streamlining the whole process and communicating it more effectively can make migration easier. Also providing childcare and making it easier for migrants and their households to send money back and forth, offering out assistance, would definitely help the economy. Trade liberalization helps the economy by raising GNP, gross national product of a country. Grapes don't grow in Scotland, and France does not have the peaty soil ideal for making scotch. Therefore, it makes sense that France should export wine to Scotland, and Scotland should export whiskey to France, since both countries make goods they are relatively good at, and buying the rest adds to their GNP. Society could tax the winners from free trade and distribute the money to the losers in the country. How is trade liberalization good if people and money will not chase opportunities? Retailers like Amazon would not want to stake their reputation on a new manufacturer without a name in another country should they fail to deliver. They would rather not try them out even though it is cheaper, of better quality, and possible to refuse to pay a manufacturer if the quality is low or there is a delay. Suspicion of newcomers can turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy. If no one buys the cars, the company will collapse and customer service will cease. Or if everyone expects Egyptians' rugs to fade, they will sell for very little money and will not be able to invest in producing high-quality rugs. It's a vicious cycle. The World Trade Organization, WTO, established an Aid for Trade initiative where they help new businesses find their footing. Behind the initiative is the belief that trade is a route out of poverty for these countries. ATA looked for a product that appealed to high-income markets and was produced in the country cheaply, found a location, established the company, trained the CEO, hired Italians to design the carpet. Yet, it was only after 1.5 years that Hermes Carpet secured its first significant export order from a German buyer. The business picked up. In many cases, lowering expectation with price is not possible. the price cannot go low enough for consumers to waste their resources with a product they don't trust. Poor internal integrations also makes economics sticky. Poor transportation erodes the cost advantage of a cheap labor force. Internal connection must improve for international integration to be better. Small is not beautiful. Small countries living in autarky or communities producing what it needs is not the best. A minimum scale is required to allow firms to employ specialized workers or to use high productivity machines. Firms can only be large if the market is large. This is why trade is valuable. Isolated communities cannot have productive firms. Like China's Shenzhen, clusters are effective in achieving the needed size and protecting the reputation through quality control. In exploring likes, wants, and needs, it is important to understand that people can have wrong beliefs but cannot have wrong preferences. Preferences are part of who we are, not a whim or a mistake, but a considered judgment reflecting what we value, like chocolate or vanilla ice cream. People know best what is good for them and should be allowed to decide. A poor man can decide saving for television is more important than having food in his house, with his reason being that television helps him feel refreshed and relieves the day's trouble, and he doesn't need any extra food than what is barely necessary. The immediate implication of economic growth is climate change. Over the next 100 years, the Earth will become warmer. If the planet got warmer by 1.5 degrees Celsius, 70% of coral reefs will vanish. The scientific consensus is that human activity is responsible for climate change, and the only way to stay on the course to avoid catastrophe is to reduce carbon emission. IPCC report concludes that in order to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, CO2 equivalent emission needs to reduce by 45% in 2030 compared to the 2010 level and become zero by 2050. Climate change is inequitable. The lion's share be generated by rich countries to produce what rich people use, but the greatest share of the cost will be experienced in the poor countries. Overall, we get the 50-10 rule. 10% of the world's population, the highest polluters, contribute roughly 50% of CO2 emission, while 50% who pollute the least contribute just over 10%. The hydrofluorocarbon gases, HFC gases, used in standard air conditioning appliances, used by the rich during extreme climate change, have particularly deleterious impacts on the climate. They are much more dangerous than CO2. As poor countries become richer, they'll be able to afford more air conditioning. Between 1995 and 2009, the ratio of air conditioning units to homes in urban China went from 8% to over 100%. But air conditioning itself aggravates global warming. This puts us in a rather difficult situation. The very technology that can help to protect people from climate change also accelerates the rate of climate change. The combination of taxes and regulations to curb emissions in rich countries and pay for a clean transition in poor countries could be a solution, though it may reduce growth in rich countries, which is a reason why countries like Delhi, Washington, and Beijing are reluctant to enforce pollution regulations. Technological change and globalization explains the pattern of increase in inequality in the US and the UK. Technology takes away jobs, leaving the high-skilled job like programming and low-skilled job like old people care, dog walking, creating a wide inequality gap. When the benefits of economic growth are captured by a small elite, growth can be a recipe for disaster. We need to design policies like UBI that will help people survive and hold their dignity in a world of high inequality. The need to relieve the inequality gap with programs like Universal Basic Income, UBI, brings us to the question of the best policy, cash or care. Which is the best way of reaching out to a community? The tension between cash and care should be one of the central concerns in the design of social policy. Cash being too expensive is almost impracticable. The funds required might need even the developed countries to cut funds from other programs. In Mexico, it costs about 10 pesos to transfer 100 pesos to a household. Of those 10 pesos, 34% pays for the cost of identifying the beneficiaries, and another 25% is used for ensuring compliance with the conditions for getting the conditional cash transfer. Lack of faith in government to deliver, strenuous logistics, corruption leading to hike in price are some of the challenges of opting for care. People do not like being seen as poor or people to be helped, so they shun food stamps and other welfare forms. The desire to be respected is often a reason why support for social interventions is lacking even among those who need them, and also a reason why those policies fail. The proliferation of rules also makes it hard to sign up. Possibly as a result, take-up among the intended beneficiaries is more than universal. A policy such that the rules are not too strenuous for people who need them to access it and hard enough for people who don't need them to be stressed by it might be a way forward. In conclusion, all economics are sticky. Policy is powerful. Ideas are powerful. Economics is too important to be left to economists alone. If you found this summary interesting and enlightening, do check out the book. It will be worth your time. Also check out my other book summary. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.